I think we can start with this webinar. My name is Andrea Caburlotto. I'm from OGS, it's the National Institute of Oceanography and Applied Geophysics in Italy. And I am in charge of the working package 5 about the Aquarius project that is related to the research infrastructures training, technical training. And one of the activities is to organize these webinars to give a bit more details on how to use and access the Aquarius Technical Training Hub, the portal for the transnational access. And I just have to see that this webinar will be recorded and will be made available on the Aquarius website and portal for outreach and call promotions. So it's available also after these webinars. The agenda of this webinar is that will be an introduction about the infrastructures catalog by Frank Armstrong. Then Annalie Strobel will be talk about the call design and the eligibility criteria to access the call. Then how to use the call platform with Annalie Strobel and Elizabeth De Maio that will show some practical example, let's say, about to fill in the call, the application. And last talk is the evaluation processes made by Annalie Strobel. And yeah, the transnational access call was open in the 11th of November 2024 and is open until January 2025. So, and that's all for me. So I will give the floor to Frank Armstrong that will show you some.
Thanks, Andrea. Hi, I'm Frank Armstrong. I work here at the Marine Institute in Ireland as a project officer. So first, I'm just going to give a bit of a background in case anybody missed our first webinar a couple of weeks ago, which is available to watch back online on the Aquarius website. So Aquarius is a Horizon-funded project which began in March 2024 and will run until February 2028. It's a collaborative project with 45 partners across 18 nations and has been awarded funding of 14.5 million from the European Commission, 8.1 million of which will be used for transnational access projects. Next slide, Bernie. So as you prepare your proposals, it's important to keep in mind the thematic and geographic scope of your project. The themes have been informed by the EU mission to restore our, wrong slide there. The themes have been informed by the EU mission to restore our oceans and waters, and the geographic scope has been informed by the mission lighthouse regions. So Aquarius will be focusing on the 4 lighthouse regions of the Atlantic Arctic, the Baltic and North Sea, the Mediterranean, and the Black Sea. So for projects aimed towards the Atlantic and Arctic and also in the Black Sea, we would like to see projects focus more towards protecting and restoring marine and freshwater environments. For projects in the Baltic and North Sea, there shall be a focus on towards the blue economy and making it more carbon neutral and circular. And for projects in the Mediterranean, they should have an aim towards preventing and eliminating pollution. And just as a sort of definition, mission lighthouses are spaces of transformation to pilot, demonstrate, develop, and deploy the mission activities across the EU. Slide. So as you continue to prepare your application, and once you've figured out your thematic and geographic scope, you can start looking into which infrastructure services you might require to meet your objectives. So we have developed our Aquarius infrastructure catalog, which is available online, and it highlights the 57 research infrastructures that are on offer in Aquarius. And these can be filtered by the type of infrastructure and by which lighthouse region that they can serve. The catalog is available on the Aquarius website, and I really encourage you all to take a look. The catalog, if you jump on the next slide there, Bernie. The catalog features 18 research vessels, 12 marine mobile and observation platforms. There are 11 fixed marine facilities, 9 experimental research facilities, 5 research river and basin super sites. We have 3 aircraft, 2 drones, 1 satellite service, and a suite of different data infrastructures to manage data. So, yeah, so this is just a bit of a kind of an overview of what the slides look like, or when you go onto the Aquarius catalog. You'll see here on the left, you can filter by your infrastructure type and your lighthouse region, and it also has an interactive map where you can click on each of the regions, and that will sort of filter all the infrastructures on offer. And if you click through that slide there, Bernie, you can sort of see how it filters, and each of those tiles are interactive. And when they're opened up, you can see more information on the service. So, for example, here is one of our aircraft provided by OGS. They're AIR's airborne remote sensing. There's an interactive map to show where in Europe they're located. And if you scroll down through the page, you'll see more information on the infrastructure's overview, the scientific and technical specifications. And then down towards the bottom, there are some contact information and also the sort of regions throughout Europe in which they can operate. There should also be contact information on a lot of the infrastructure, and we always encourage that when you're starting to consider your proposals, to get in touch with infrastructure operators as soon as possible to begin discussing any logistical requirements you might have. So when it comes to making your application on the Transnational Access portal itself, you also need to decide on what type of access you require. So infrastructure are available for remote access and physical access, or they're also available in both. So during the TAP process, you need to decide on what type of access you need. As definitions go, remote access is where users or the user group do not need to physically visit the infrastructure. Instead, the infrastructure operator can conduct the study or the sample on behalf of the applicant and send on the data to them. Physical access, on the other hand, so we're talking more about maybe research vessels here, is where the user or user group do physically need to access the infrastructure. The Aquarius travel and logistics budget is available towards the scientific user group for travel and logistics costs in that case. And for remote access only, the logistical costs such as shipping and sampling will be eligible as there are no other travel costs. So to finish up, this is just a general infrastructure checklist that you should consider when you're making your application. So on the catalog itself, you can check the home country and if you're eligible to use the infrastructure. And there's also the capability and availability of the infrastructure to implement your project. It has information on the infrastructure's normal area of operation, so you must ensure that the infrastructure is available in your planned area. And if you need more information on that, again, feel free to contact us or the infrastructure operators themselves to see kind of the scope of where the infrastructure can operate. There's also information on the travel and logistics budget. This is limited and may not cover all the user groups, cover travel and logistics costs. And if you're ever in doubt, please contact the infrastructure operator or us at aquarius@marine.ie. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Frankie. Just I forgot to mention for the participant that if you want to have some questions, please use the Q&A to ask your questions. And at the end, I will check the questions you put in the Q&A. So let's move to the second talk about the core design and eligibility criteria. Please, Annelie.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Annelies Strobel. I lead the work package 3, the call management in Aquarius. And this work package has some other partners. One of them is our partner CNR, who did the call design and the eligibility criteria of the Aquarius transnational access calls. And I'm giving this presentation on behalf of our partner CNR. And we'll talk a bit about the transnational access calls. So what will AQUARIUS Transnational Access support? We will support research projects that are relevant to the lighthouse regions and the EU mission Restore Our Oceans and Waters, also taking into account all these other initiatives that you've seen here, and you've heard about the lighthouse regions and the missions already in the presentation by Frank, so I will not go into more detail here. Next slide, exactly. So the ambition of the AQUARIUS Transnational Access is to support the research and innovation projects that contribute to the goals and challenges of the EU mission Restore Our Oceans and Waters. We provide researchers with access to state-of-the-art facilities, also equipment, data, samples, and expertise, and also the networks that exist in the lighthouse regions. We facilitate the mobility, training, and networking of researchers in the lighthouse regions and also beyond. With our transnational access, we aim to enhance the visibility, the impact, and the dissemination of the research and also the best practices that take place in the lighthouse regions. And overall, all these activities aim to strengthen the cooperation and create synergies among the lighthouse regions and other relevant initiatives and stakeholders of the oceans and waters. Next, please. So how were the AQUARIUS Transnational Access calls or programs designed? So the program design targets both the scientific and the societal challenges and opportunities for research infrastructure integration. So we aim to have a high level of heterogeneity of the facilities, also include ocean, freshwater, and environmental variables that can be measured. So, for example, physical, chemical, or biological measurements. Also taken into account the geographical coverage and addresses a wide range of scientific disciplines. So based on this criteria, we designed the calls and also the activities that should take place in the respective lighthouse regions. So here you see, the lines of action or the preferred topics of the first call, the Regional Lighthouse Access Call, which is open at the moment and closes on 20th of January 2025. So here you can apply for a transnational access to each of the 4 lighthouse regions in the Atlantic, Arctic, the Danube River, the Mediterranean, or the Baltic and North Sea. And your proposal should target one of these overarching topics that we display here, but you can also find them on our website under transnational access calls, so you don't have to remember all of these, just some examples. Your proposal should fit to the topic or a line of action in the Atlantic, Arctic to protect our marine ecosystems, or you could hand in a proposal for the Mediterranean Sea with the target to mitigate our marine pollution, or for the Baltic and North Sea to restore marine habitats, for example. So proposals should fit these overarching topics of the EU lighthouse regions. Next, please. And we will have also a second transnational access call that will be a more adaptive or responsive call, and the topic will be shaped on the outcomes of the first transnational access call that is open now. So this second call will focus more on emerging issues or themes that were not adequately covered in the first call, or some developments within the EU Mission Ocean. And this will be then a super integrated lighthouse call that focuses on the key challenges that you've seen already, but that affect or take place in more than one lighthouse region. And this second call will then open in September next year, and topics will be more clearly defined towards that date. Next, please. So, but now important are the eligibility criteria. So please carefully check them before you start applying for the transnational access calls. So check if you are actually eligible to apply. So what you have to take into account when you prepare your application is that the user group leader of the proposal and the majority of the users or the team must work in another country than the country where the installation is located. So you cannot apply for infrastructure of your own home country. Then your proposal should have a strong international collaboration aspect. So your proposal should involve at least 3 partners from 3 different countries. And you should be allowed or willing to disseminate the results of your project unless you're working for a small and medium-sized enterprise. Next, please. And when you prepare your proposal, you should also have an appropriate scientific expertise to conduct the proposed work. And very important, as you had heard already in the beginning, your proposal should fit under the topic, one of the topics of the EU Mission Ocean 2030 and answer one of these scientific challenges that we define. So you can find these scientific challenges in more detail in the Aquarius deliverable 3.1 and 6.1. You can find it easily on the website when you check under transnational access for the eligibility criteria and the documents. And also important is an access limit that we have, so we can fund also user groups from outside EU, but we can only dedicate 20% of our transnational access units to user groups from outside EU. But this should not stop you from applying. And then some more general conditions to consider before you apply. You should, of course, follow the Aquarius ethical standards that you can find in the Aquarius guidelines for applicants. And it's very important for Aquarius that you select you make a meaningful choice of infrastructures to answer your scientific questions. And actually, you can select an unlimited number of infrastructures from the 9 infrastructure categories that you've heard in Frank's presentation. And we recommend that you at least integrate 2 infrastructures from different categories in your application. Then also your proposal or your application should also have a training education aspect. So you should bring students along or do some education and outreach activities. And it's mandatory to submit a data management plan with your application. First, you submit an initial data management plan, and when you get funded, this data management plan will be refined later on in cooperation with some of our Aquarius colleagues. Next slide, please. Okay, so this was actually the end of the presentation about the Aquarius transnational access calls. And I think, Andrea, I can directly continue, or do you want to say something?
You can carry on, yes.
Okay. So actually now this is the next presentation. Just a few slides on how to apply to the Aquarius transnational access calls. So here's all this information about the call criteria, eligibility criteria, and all documents you can find on our website. So here you can see a screenshot. If you click on TA calls on top, this will guide you to a very nice page where you see the opening dates of the first transnational access call, the second one, and also a button where you can access the application platform about which you will hear in the next presentation. And you also find here the eligibility criteria, link to the infrastructure catalog, and all the documents that you need to apply for. So I wanted to highlight this page so that you know where to find all these things that we are talking about. Next page, please. So the steps if you want to apply for Aquarius transnational access is that you first please check if you're eligible to apply. You just heard about the eligibility criteria. And when you have a project in mind, does it fit with the call challenges of the EU lighthouse regions? And then you check the research infrastructure catalog that was introduced to you previously. And then you check which infrastructure is best suited for your project. Is it available? for the time you're planning to do your research, and there's also the contacts of the infrastructure operators, so that you can then directly contact the operator to find out if you can really do the research that you are planning in the time that you would like to do it, and if the infrastructure is really suitable. I recommend to really contact the operator as early as possible in the application stage to check if your work can really be conducted with this infrastructure. Next. Then the next step would be to register on the Aquarius Transnational Access platform, and then fill in your application in this platform, and in the end, review and submit your application, please, before the deadline. After the deadline, we cannot accept any applications anymore. The platform will close. And you can always enter your application, so you don't have to do all the application and so on in this platform on one day or in one step. You can process your application step by step in several sessions and save it in between. And also, important note, if you are a user group leader, you can only submit one application per call as group leader. And you will hear more about this tab in the presentation by Elisabeth in a second. Next. And just to mention, so we have this application via this platform, but in the end, you will also have to upload some appendices. Of course, you need to provide a research plan or scientific project description, which is just 10 pages, including references. So actually not too long. You will find templates for this in the Transnational Access platform, but also on the website of Aquarius. You also have to submit a CV of the main applicant, just 2 pages, and an initial data management plan, which will not be part of the scientific evaluation later on, so it will be refined later on if your proposal gets funded. And if the user group leader is an early career scientist without a PhD, you also need to provide a recommendation letter before submitting your proposal. Okay, next, please. Okay, and now I will pass the floor to Elisabeth, who will tell you more about this wonderful platform that we are using for the applications. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I am Elisabeth. I am part of the development team of the TAP for Aquarius. We will have a quick overview on how to apply and how the application flow works. Next, please. Okay, so this is the overall workflow of an application. So we start with the applicant who creates and then submit the application. We go through eligibility check performed by the editors of the platform. Then we have the evaluation stage with the external evaluators and reviewers for the application. We go through the ranking and recommended, so the application will be ranked and recommended by the SEP panel. Then we have the acceptance from the research infrastructure, the grant, and the final acceptance from applicant. After that, we have the periods of the project, and then we come back for reporting both from the applicant side and from the research infrastructure side. Next, please. Okay, this is the homepage of the platform. So here you can click on register here if you're a new user. Next slide, please. Okay, the system will ask for your data and to accept the privacy policy and cookie policy. It's very important that you fill in this registration form with the exact data, because in the platform, this will help you during the application, because the system will provide you an automated fill-in mechanism. So if you fill in all this field now, you will have automatically completed in the application. Next, please. If you are already registered on the platform, you can just click on login or apply, and you will start your application on the open call. Next, please. The first step of the application is accepting the terms and conditions for application by Aquarius terms. It's very important to accept because it's mandatory and you cannot go on with your application unless you accept these terms and conditions. Next, please. Then you can insert your application data. You will find all these fields. It's like the basic information of your application, acronym, title, the project summary, the discipline, and the topic keywords. Next, please. The topic keywords are very, very important because will help the editors to find the reviewer and the evaluators for your application. So please go through all these keywords. These are the GCMD standard keyword. So please find the most relevant for you and select as many as you want. Next. At this point, you will have the member of your team. As Anneli already told you, just one group leader can submit just one application for every call in the platform, but you can add as many members of your team as you want. In this case, if you click on fill in with your registration data, next please, you will see that the system already provides you all the field already filled with the application you provided during the registration. And that's why it's important to provide correct information. Of course, if your information changed or you want to update it, you can change the fields here. Now you can click on add new member and next please. You can add the second member, fill in all the data, next. And when you're done, you can select save and go on. Thank you. You are in the logistic information section. You here can choose your infrastructure of choice. Next. And when you select your infrastructure, you can start adding access for those infrastructure. Next, please. As already Frank showed you, you here have the choice between physical access and remote access. When you choose for physical access, we require that the member who will go through the physical access. And if you want to go, you can add as many access as you want and for as many members as you need. Next, please. This is an example of a second access for a second member. Next, please. You can, now you have to move to the cost section and the system will help you remind all your access. So you can see there is physical access with my name, with the station I selected, with the periods I selected. And now I can add cost for this access. The platform will suggest you in the list of the cost available for your type of access. So if you are asking for a physical access, the platform will suggest you cost voices that are required for physical access. Or if you're selecting for remote access, the platform will suggest you remote access cost type. Of course, you can add every cost you need, but you please keep in mind that for physical access, only physical access related costs will granted, and for remote access, only remote access cost type will be granted. For example, for physical access, it's fine requiring for a visa, for a travel, for a flight. But for remote access, you can ask for shipment, you can ask for a courier, but you cannot ask for flight for a person. Next, please. You will move to publication. Here you will be asked to respond to the question how you provide for the European mission Ocean 2030. And then you have to provide a list of your past publication and the new one if you already have in plan to do that. Next, please. Okay, this is the appendix form. You will add a document with the research plan, with the curriculum vitae of the group leader, and if the group leader has not a PhD and it's a young researcher, you will have this recommend letter required. Next. Okay, next one, please. You now have the review page. You can scroll it down and see all the data you insert in the application. You always can go back just clicking on the step on the left to go back and change some data if something does not align with your application. When you go to the end of the page, next, you will have to go back or submit. Next, please. Please keep in mind that it's very, very important that you double check your data before submission, because after submission, the changes are no longer available on the application. Next, please. The application is done, and now the applicant has to wait while the application is under evaluation. During this period, you, of course, will, as applicant, can still log into the tab. Next, please. This is your home page, and at this point, you will see you have one application. Next, please. And you have all important data here. So you can access to the document library section with useful information and documents. You have your policy pages. You can go to your application and check the status. Of course, you have the notification, and every time your application goes through a new phase, you will receive an email, and also you will receive a notification on the platform. Also in the main page and in every page where is your username log in the top of the right, you can scroll down the menu and you will have the technical support mail. So you can always contact us for technical support, and you can also always contact Aquarius for scientific and technical support. And this is everything. Thank you so much.
I can directly continue. I think no need to introduce me again. No worries. So yeah, it's again me just briefly explaining you what happens with your application after you submitted it. So which steps in the evaluation does it undergo before it can be funded or not? Next slide. Yeah. So the key actors that are involved in the scientific and logistic evaluation of your application is the Aquarius Call Management Office at the Alfred Wegener Institute. So the team here at our institute, we coordinate the whole scientific evaluation process. And then there is the Aquarius Transnational Access Platform, our partner INCODE that you just heard from. Then we have the scientific evaluation. Here we have our scientific expert panel that oversee the whole scientific evaluation process. And then we have external anonymous experts that are recommended from our scientific expert panel. And they will do the scientific review of your proposals. And then we have also another step of the evaluation, which is the logistic evaluation of the applications. And here we have an operational expert panel, we call it OEP, that is composed of research infrastructure operators from all EU lighthouse regions. So they perform the logistic and the feasibility evaluation. And then we have, of course, the infrastructure operators, but they don't perform a proper evaluation, just an approval of the access or not. Next slide, please. So here's an overview of the evaluation process of the Aquarius Transnational Access Call. In Aquarius, we have an excellent access. That means that only scientifically excellent proposals can receive funding from Aquarius. So here in this overview flow, you see that on the left side, when your proposal is submitted, it is checked for eligibility by us at the Call Management Office, and then we pass it on to the scientific expert panel. And parallel, our operational expert panel does a logistic pre-check if everything is okay in terms of logistics of your application. And then the next step is then the scientific evaluation, where we select external evaluators for your proposal that perform an individual assessment of the proposals. And in the end, there is a consensus meeting of our expert panel that does a ranking of all the proposals with the scientifically excellent proposals on top and recommends them for funding. And then it's passed on to the logistics evaluation, where the final ranking is taking place. But I will go into more detail about all these steps in the next slides. So next, please. So what happens first when the call is closed? As I said, the call management office is doing an eligibility check. So we have a look at all the applications and go through the eligibility criteria that you've seen also in one of the first presentations. So particularly, we check if the user group leaders and the team is from another country where the infrastructure that they are applying for is located. And if the user group leader is conducting the fieldwork is the same as the chief scientist who is doing really the fieldwork. Then if there's 3 partners from 3 different countries involved, and if the application contributes to the priorities or the scientific challenges of the transnational access calls, and if they contribute to this EU Lighthouse missions. Okay, next, please. And then there's this logistic pre-check by our operational expert panel that really have a look if the logistical framework of the transnational access is fulfilled, or if there are any major issues in terms of logistics, so that the proposal cannot, or the project cannot take place from a logistic perspective. And if a proposal is ineligible, it will be directly returned to the applicant here and not continue further with scientific evaluation. Next, please. Then the next step is to find scientific reviewers for the proposals. So all the eligible proposals are allocated to our scientific expert panel members. They are experts in a broad range of scientific fields in the different EU Lighthouse regions. So all proposals will be allocated to panel members or watchdogs that are experts in this scientific field of the proposals. So they really know what the topic is about, and they will oversee the whole evaluation process and follow their proposals from the evaluation to the end. And these watchdogs or scientific expert panel members then propose specific reviews for your proposal. And each proposal is then sent out to these external anonymous evaluators. We will do at least 2 individual anonymous reviews for each proposal, or more if possible. These external evaluators must declare confidentiality and no conflict of interest, and they examine each of the proposals and provide scores and comments to the proposal using an online assessment form in the AQUARIUS Transnational Access platform. So in the end, we will have comments and scores for each of the proposals that helps us ranking the proposals based on scientific evaluation. Next slide, please. So the scientific evaluation criteria that a proposal is evaluated or that are considered when evaluating a proposal is, of course, the scientific excellency. So our external evaluators check if the proposal is scientifically excellent and if it aligns with the core themes, if there's a clearly defined work plan, if the scientific impact is well addressed, and if the scientific background of the user group is appropriate, if there's an appropriate number of requested infrastructures and if they are well integrated, and if the data handling is clearly presented, and if there's dissemination activities planned. So please take this evaluation criteria in mind, because our evaluators will go through this criteria step by step and tick the box if these criteria are met. Okay, next, please. And then as soon as we get the evaluations of each proposal, along all these scientific evaluation criteria, there will be a consensus evaluation. So our scientific expert panel members will convene in an online meeting and consider each proposal and see if what was the scientific evaluation, were there any issues. So they will really check each proposal and if the marks and the scores are justified, and then they will come up with a ranking list of all the proposals based on the evaluation scores and the comments from the scientific expert panel. So they come up in the end with a recommendation list for the operators, and they will also do a recommendation if proposals are scientifically recommended for scheduling or not. And this list will then be passed on to the operators in the next step, please. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about this. If an application, so we will in the end have a list of proposals based on the scores of the scientific evaluation, but of course it can happen that applications are equally scientifically excellent and receive equal score in the evaluation. So then we have some preference or some criteria how to deal with this. So we will then give preference to users who have not previously used the installation or are working in countries where no equivalent research infrastructure exists. And there are some other criteria such as the involvement of early career researchers, the involvement of vulnerable groups, or if there's citizen science, etc., and collaboration with industry included. So there's some criteria also to help them choosing between equally scientifically excellent proposals. Next slide, please. So after scientific evaluation follows the logistics evaluation. So we have planned to have the scientific evaluation finished end of March 25 or beginning of April, and then the results of the evaluation will be passed to the logistics team for a logistics evaluation, and we aim to have this completed until end of April 25 or beginning of May 25. And then we will invite successful applicants to enter into negotiations with the AQUARIUS team to conclude a transnational access agreement with the AQUARIUS consortium via the transnational access platform, and also an individual agreement with infrastructure operators of the requested infrastructure. And then in the end, the access will be prepared by the user groups, always in consultation and cooperation with the infrastructure operator, who was always the final word if a work can be done on his or her infrastructure. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, that was it from my side. I now hand over to Andrea again for the questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you for all the speakers. And so we have some questions here in the Q&A. The first one is if the infrastructure, that's what I seems. So if an infrastructure like an ROV or AOV include ships, I think maybe Frank could reply.
Yeah. So infrastructure is kind of a term to include all research vessels and the equipment associated with them. And then, but we also have a selection of ROVs and AUVs as well. Also gliders. I think that answers the question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that the question is if I need a certain infrastructure like an ROV, so it's included also the ship, or I have also to select the ship. This is what I.
Yes, if you do require an ROV, then you must select from the list of infrastructures. So we have an ROV provided by Ifremer and also one provided by HCMR. But also some vessels may have smaller ROVs associated with them as part of their kind of equipment list. So if you don't need such a large ROV, it's probably worth contacting the infrastructure operator to see if they have any alternatives.
Okay, thanks. So, presuming, I think that if they just need an ROV, for instance, they can use the ROV on their research vessel, or they can select one vessel from the Aquarius catalog. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. So then there is some questions about the budget. So if the budget will cover also the lab consumables, services, etc., beside travel and logistics. I think maybe Anneli or
Yeah, I can take this one. So in principle, what Aquarius is covering is travel costs and shipping of your stuff. So this is all the logistics costs. And so everything that you need to access the infrastructure and the infrastructure as such. Aquarius is not there to buy any equipment or so for the research. So you cannot charge for chemicals and so on to do the research. But then it also depends on the infrastructure that you're accessing. So if there's research facilities or laboratories that you are visiting, that this might all be included already in the access to the facilities. So each facility is offering different conditions to work on. So please check in the infrastructure catalog what is already there, what equipment you can use. But in principle, Aquarius is not there to buy equipment or to help for costs, for example, fixing equipment also. But if you apply, for example, for infrastructure on ROV, AUV, there's also, of course, technical support included. And this is all detailed in the infrastructure catalog, or in doubt, contact the operator, what they include or what they offer. Yeah.
Thank you, Anneli. And I think also the next question is for you. It's so can you explain the different rules of the scientific expert panels and the anonymous reviewers?
Yeah, so the scientific expert panel is there. So since we at the core management office, we are managers, so we are not scientific experts in the field. So for the scientific evaluation, to oversee the whole process and to ensure that it's all scientifically correct, we have the scientific expert panel. These are about 25 members from a wide range of scientific disciplines. You can find actually their names, institutions, and scientific expertise on our website. So they are there to oversee the process and ensure that it's really transparent and everything is going scientifically correct and each proposal is treated the same. And when we have the proposals, we will allocate our proposals to scientific expert panels who match the scientific discipline of the proposal. And then this scientific expert panel will propose external anonymous reviewers who should review the proposal, because we from the management side cannot judge who is the best scientific expert to review a proposal. So this will be the job of this scientific expert panel, or the watchdog we call them also watchdogs. So they really are responsible for a proposal that we will find the external reviewers for this specific proposal. And then they will make sure that these external experts review the proposal. But they are not there for review, so they are not anonymous. And these external experts that are reviewing the proposals, they stay anonymous, and we will never make their name public. So it's really like an anonymous scientific review of a scientific publication. So I hope this is clear.
Yes, it was very clear. That is for me. Thanks, Anneli. So we don't have any other questions so far, and I can just suggest to the participant. There is another questions. Oh no, just thank you for the useful webinar. Thanks. And just have a look at the AP, and I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of scientists and also for some young scientists. It could be a good opportunity. So just have a look and prepare your application in time. Yeah. So I think I will thank you for all the participants and of course all the speakers and hope to see a lot of application in the future. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So thank you to everybody and good luck for your applications and have a nice day.